This week I got to talk with Christina Dotson about her very, very fun debut thriller, Love You to Death. I loved this book. It has some snarky dialogue, so you know I was obsessed. And it has a really fun premise too, so I just devoured this one. But here's what it's about. How well do we really know our friends? As the only black women at an antebellum-themed wedding, Kayla and Zorie should have known the heist was doomed from the start. They should never have come, and when their financial situation became dire, they agreed to hit one last wedding. Jaded and cynical Kayla has spent the last decade trying to fix her life since an angsty teen prank led to her arrest. Now, with her housekeeping job at a subpar hotel and her disappointing Cinderella-esque relationship with her dad, an obnoxious stepsister, she hates the life that she's built. Her only bright spots are her best friend Zorie and their favorite weekend pastime of crashing weddings to steal the money and pawn the gifts. But what started as a lark has evolved into a greedy obsession, making each wedding hall riskier than the last. While trying to avoid the angry bride and groom, Kayla and Zorie's getaway takes a gruesome turn, and suddenly the wedding crash killers are national news. The best friends are forced to hit the road to dodge the authorities, but their escape plan leaves behind a bloody trail of destruction from Georgia all the way to the bayou. As past grudges resurface, Kayla realizes that the best friend she thought she knew is more dangerous than she could ever have realized. There's a lot going on in this one. We talk about how she was inspired by Thelma and Louise, how that's one of her favorite movies, the fun of writing quote-unquote unlikable characters, and how she had fun writing characters that she could kind of vicariously live through. So that being said, let's hear from Christina. I am so excited to talk with you about Love You to Death. I don't know why I felt like I was about to say the title wrong. But I did want to get to know a little bit about you before we dive into the book itself. So what was your moment where you were like, I think I want to write a book. I want to be a writer. What was like your journey to writing kind of?
hmm Well, I don't remember the exact age I was. I just know that from the time that I was little and reading books, I just knew that I always wanted to be a writer. You probably hear that from every writer, but I just
Not
thought,
always, but
oh,
yeah.
really?
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting because I just think that it's always fascinated me how you
Mm-hmm.
can create these people and these worlds, how someone can just do it from their imagination. That's really powerful, and I
Yeah.
wanted to be able to do that myself. So, as a kid, that is what I always told my parents. Aside from, I mean, there was a point that I wanted to be a ballerina briefly, but that went away. But the book, I actually dedicated it to my parents because I just felt like they've always known when I was little and Christmas time, I would always write letters to Santa that I wanted a Barbie dream house. I still kind of
Oh,
want one low key, but that's
yes.
weird. So I better not. So, and I'm still single, so I don't think I could get a man if I had a Barbie dream house in my house. But anyway, with no kids.
You never know.
But well, that's true. They might be into it. But when I remember one Christmas, there was a typewriter underneath the Christmas tree, and it was kind of like the gift that I didn't know that I wanted. And
Yeah.
they were just listening and nurturing and just what I wanted to do. And then from there, I was writing like it was my job at like 10 years old. So yeah, that's the bug hit early.
Yeah.
So. hmm
That's such a cool, yeah, that's cool that you had that like so long ago. And because you're right, like not all parents are like, oh yay, you want to write.
Right, here's a coloring book, do that instead. It's
Yeah, that's so
yeah.
cool.
Mhm.
Do you outline? Do you just kind of write with the vibes that you're feeling? How do you approach that?
I don't outline, and I
Mm-hmm.
really, really, really wish that I could, but every time
Yeah.
I do, it always feels like, I mean, I guess it is kinda homework, but it just I don't know, and I never
Yeah.
know what the story is actually going to be because it
Mm.
shifts and it changes, and I have the idea of the story, but I think the most fun part about writing is just kind of letting letting things happen and seeing what's going to happen
Yeah.
because when I was writing Love You to Death, I thought it was going to go. one way with these characters, but then they flipped it on me and went completely opposite. And I mean, we were all having a good time, so in my head. But yeah, so no, I'm a pantser for sure, and
Yeah.
I went to a lot of writers courses, and when I go to like conferences and
Mhm.
stuff and they talk about that stuff, because I really want to learn how to
Yeah.
outline, but it never works for me. So
I feel like less people outline than, or yeah, less people outline than pants it, at least in my experience with who I've talked to. So
mhm.
I think there are a lot of people who are like, I'm going with the vibes. We'll figure out where we're headed.
Exactly. It's fun that way. I guess if you
Yeah,
have a story that has a lot of different worlds, like if you're writing science fiction or
that's
something
true.
like that, then you have to keep everything tied together. But
Hmm.
otherwise, I mean, just go with the feeling. Let them take you
Yeah,
where they want to. So,
yeah.
mhm.
Um, with Love You to Death, it's obviously a mystery thriller. Is there something about that genre that you gravitate towards writing wise? Or I know some people are like, I just write the story and then someone tells me what genre it is that I wrote.
Mhm. For me, I've always liked reading dark, twisted, unhinged kind of stories.
Yeah.
That's just my favorite thing to read. It's my favorite kind of movie to watch, TV shows. Like I just like
Yeah.
that. And when I was younger, like me and my sister, we watched all the Lifetime movies on Friday
Oh,
nights. We were
yeah.
watching 2020 with Barbara Walters before true crime was like a real trend. So
Yeah.
I like all of that kind of stuff. So that's what I like to write because it's what I like to read.
Yeah.
Hmm.
That's really cool. I'm the same, obviously. Lots of thrillers. Was there something that inspired you to write this one? Like what was your jumping off point for Love You to Death?
It was actually a news story, Kate. So
Oh.
yeah, it's based, well, not based. It's inspired by a news story that I saw when I lived in Tennessee.
Mm,
I There was a story about this woman who was known as the Southeast Wedding Crasher,
mm,
and she would show up at weddings in Nashville and Mississippi and Memphis and Alabama and just take from the gift table and also from the like the closet or the rooms where people stored their purses and coats, and she would just help herself to whatever she could take and then she would leave. And I just thought that was hilarious. I mean, it was
mhm.
probably devastating to the people I stole from because, I mean, you
Right.
know, as you do. But I thought it was incredibly kind of clever just to do that because it's really easy to do that
Yeah.
if you think about it, because you know, like you can find so much information online, especially about people's weddings. They have those wedding websites that are dedicated to that, so you can get
Yes.
all the details and just, you know, it's not like they're carding you or checking you off a list at the door. So you can just walk in, sit down. Nobody knows who's connected to the bride and groom or
Hmm.
the bride and bride or the groom and groom. So you can just
Hmm.
sit there and then follow them to the reception, and then while everybody's distracted and drunk, just take what you
Yes.
want. So
I know that's what was dawning on me as I was reading. I was like, wait a second. Like this is actually somewhat easy to do if you
yeah.
can like act mostly normal when you're there.
Right. Yeah, you
Yeah.
just because some of these places will or websites will even tell you what to wear, like if it's a black tie or
Oh yeah.
casual, you know, if it's outside, or a lot of,
Hmm.
you know, Tennessee weddings are in barns and stuff. So, you know,
Yeah.
but yeah, just dress accordingly, act accordingly, and just show up and take what you want. But this lady, she's passed away now, but she was eventually arrested.
Okay.
But yeah, it was a crazy story, and I thought that sounds interesting, and I want to write that. And
Hmm.
I think it would be more fun if it was two best friends doing it.
Hmm.
And of course, because I like twisted and dark things, I'm like something bad has to happen at this
Yes.
wedding. So
Yes.
yeah, that's where it came from.
Yeah. It does. It starts off strong, and you're like, oh, okay, all right. So that's how we got here.
Right.
um, you kind of mentioned already. I was wondering. So the friendship, the doing it as a duo, uh, really, I think that probably added a lot because there could obviously be tension between them as
Hmm.
they're kind of traveling through. But what made you want to kind of set these two friends together, um, and kind of like build this believable world where like we understand why they almost need to do it?
Hmm. Well, I mean, I've always liked a friendship story
Hmm.
anyway, and it's also kind of inspired. It has strong Thelma and Louise vibes because that's
Yes.
one of my favorite movies. Every time I watch it, I'm always thinking about ways that they could have gotten away with it and why they
Yeah.
didn't go this way. But but yeah, I wanted it to be an exploration too of friendship, of toxic
Hmm.
friendships, because I just feel like with a lot of our friends, we sometimes we hold on to them longer than we need to.
Hmm.
Because my best friend and I, just like Kayla and Zorie, have been best friends since we were 6 years old. We're not
Hmm.
like Kayla and Zorie, but you know, like thank God. So,
Yeah, this isn't a
but
confession.
no, not a well, I mean, it could turn into one. We still have time. I'm just kidding. But I just feel like, you know, you grow up and you sometimes you grow apart and your interests are different and you become different people. And but
Hmm.
sometimes because we've had those friendships for so long, we want to hold on to them because they're comfortable, because we have so much history. And they do sometimes sour and turn toxic. And sometimes we don't always realize that. So I wanted it to be connected, rooted in
Hmm.
that strong history with Kayla and Zorie. And then
Yeah.
I also wanted to emphasize the desperation that because of where their history too, which kind of creates this barrier of them being able to move forward and be financially successful and
Hmm.
you know those types of things. So yeah, that's kind of why I wanted it to be kind of a buddy buddy but
Hmm.
twisted kind of friendship
Yeah, there are
examination.
layers going on. That's
Yeah.
for sure. Um, and I think like part of what was like what kind of like made it feel like believable and grounded too is like with Kayla, like her family situation is so tense and
Mhm.
painful too. I don't think it's totally spoilery to say like she's working as like a maid at a hotel,
Mhm.
and then her dad has remarried, and the her stepsister is just mean.
Uh,
I'm trying not to say too much. But she's really tough. And so it's like even in her family, she just kind of doesn't even feel like accepted there.
mhm.
And kind of feels the need to prove herself a little bit as well. So how did you go about making her family dynamics?
Well, a lot of that with the family dynamics, and I mean, just in case like my ex-stepmom and ex-stepsister listen to this, it's not about you guys, but because I have had a stepmom and a stepsister. So, but no, they were not like these people. But
That's
Uh,
good.
yeah, thank God. So, but a lot of that, the relationship dynamics, honestly, I've taken from just my experience as a social worker and being
Mm,
in those homes with kids, kind of our young people trying to deal with the dynamics of their parents remarrying and introducing new people into their lives. And but it is kind of a wink to Cinderella a little bit,
yeah.
you know. So that was intentional too, like the wicked stepmom. I know that's very cliched, but Gloria and
I think a
Candace
lot of
are
people live with it though.
yeah, it's true. And there's
Yeah.
actually an ID show called Wicked Stepmoms.
Oh yeah.
But they like actually kill people. So
Oh,
but yeah, but Gloria and Candace are um I I don't know if I'm allowed to cuss on this, so I won't.
you
But
can.
okay, well, they're bitches. So,
Yes. Yes.
and I hate them. But yeah,
Yeah.
and I wanted to emphasize too because that happens in a lot of families where the dad, because he wants to kind of keep everything copacetic and he sides with the new woman in his life over his daughter and
Mhm.
you know her mom was kind of her even though she Kayla lost her mom at an early age, but she was kind of
Mhm.
the anchor of the family, and she she's always kind of been searching for that connection and that love, and that's why I think she holds on so hard to Zorie and Zorie too, because
Yes.
they both are kind of trauma bonded a little bit. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. That's I've had a bit of a similar experience with fathers and stepmothers.
Oh
Not to this
no.
extreme,
Oh, okay, good.
obviously, same thing.
Good.
But it is. It's such a like it can be so disorienting when you're like, why are you talking to me like this? Like you just came into my life, you barely know me, like what's happening right now? So
Yes.
I could just the unfairness of it all had me so angry at the beginning.
Oh, I bet. And it's
Yeah.
worse when if your mom, like with Kayla, if you lose your mom and they try to step
Yeah.
into that role, but even if your mom is still living and they still try to kind of take over, it's like stay in your lane. You're, like stop. We're not
Yeah.
there. So it's not that
Yeah.
kind of relationship, but yeah,
Hmm.
it's tough, but
Yeah.
yeah.
It is. Families are obviously like just rife for weird dynamics. So then like shaking
Mhm.
it up like that, it makes sense that those dynamics are difficult for
Yes.
people. Um what made you want to set it in the antebellum South that they were wedding crashing through there basically?
Mhm. Well, I mean, I'm from the South, so I live in Kentucky. I lived in Tennessee for over 20 years, but my mom's family is from Tennessee. My dad's family is from Kentucky, so I am Southern. But
Mhm.
and I've said this before, I just think that the South is just the best place for thrillers.
Yeah.
It's just a dark and disturbing place. I mean, it's a beautiful place to live. I mean,
Hmm.
it is gorgeous in the South, hot, but but there's just so much history
Yeah.
and then the traditions that it's just I mean, there's just so much sinister things that have happened here, and I just it
Hmm.
makes for a good story, like a good
Yeah.
thriller. So that's
Yeah.
why I wanted to set it in Georgia, because when I think of the South, I always think of Georgia, but the
Hmm.
antebellum, that wasn't something that came right away. I just I don't really remember where it came from, like the whole antebellum vibe, but I just because I had written the wedding scene first, but it
Hmm.
wasn't necessarily an antebellum themed wedding.
Oh
And
yeah.
then later I added that because I thought that that would be a good twist because there are these two black women
Hmm.
going showing up at this racist wedding where people are pretending it's like a civil war, which is so stupid that I don't know why people romanticize that period of
I know.
time. It's
I
so
know.
weird. Like, I
It's
don't get
very
it.
weird.
Yes, and the fact that
Ugh.
people are still doing it in
And then they're just like,
2025.
it was so long ago. I just want to dress up. I'm like, guys,
Right.
no.
Yes, like, do you
I,
know what you're doing? So,
yeah, I
ugh,
know. I think when I was reading the book, I mean, there was something coming back up about Blake Lively, and so then I was seeing like all of their like
yeah.
plantation wedding stuff, and I was like,
Yes.
oh, it's like this.
Like stop having plantation weddings and stop
Yeah.
wearing those outfits and pretending to be Scarlett
Yes.
O'Hara. It's just weird.
I know. I
So,
know.
yeah, but that's kind of I just thought it would be kind of a good satire and look at the
Yes.
way that our society is with romanticizing that. But also there's a it makes it more riskier for them because
Right.
they're, black. And I don't know about you, Kate, but I've been to some weddings where I've been the only black person and
Hmm.
it's just first of all, I think people should have more diverse friends. If you only have one person of color in your friend group, that's I don't know. Anyway,
Yeah. Yeah. No, I
So
know.
yeah, like I for them, so they know right away that they need to leave because it's going to be very obvious because
Yeah.
if you have people of color in your friend group and if there's nobody else but you two, then it's like, what are you doing? So, but
Hmm.
anyway, mm.
Yeah. That was just making me think of something, and it just like completely flew out of my mind, like just completely left. Um, I don't know. I don't know where it went. Oh. it was when I read what you were talking about, the way that like sometimes using that, like obviously I don't know that white writers need to be using it as a way to raise the stakes, but when that stuff is kind of included, it reminds me when I read The Other Black Girl, like the epigraph at the beginning is
Mhm.
Black history is horror, or Black history is horror. I think that's what it, or Black horror. Um, so it's like it is so grounded in like making things even scarier for your
Yeah,
protagonists. That's what it was making me think of.
for sure.
But the book has this really fun balance of like satire, there's social commentary going on, and then there's obviously this like dark thriller, like the plot part of it is
Mhm.
there as well. So how did you balance kind of having all of those elements in there, like the dark comedy, the commentary, or is it just kind of like that's your voice, that's your tone?
It's weird because I didn't mean to make it funny. Like, it wasn't
Yeah.
supposed to be humorous, and I didn't
Hmm.
feel like when I was writing it that it was just the way that that's how they talk, you know?
Yeah, that's what it is. Their
Um,
friendship. Yeah.
yeah, and then just that's her personality, how she sees things. She has that kind of cynical voice, but then the feedback that I was getting when I was querying it and even, during, submission when it was out on submission was that it was dark comedy or funny. I'm like, and then the feedback from readers, I'm like, I didn't it's funny, but like, I didn't mean for it to be funny because
Yeah.
I meant for it just to be, like, dark and twisted, but then when I
Uh-huh.
was when I read it now or when I was reading it through edits and stuff, I'm like, I guess it is kind of fun because there were parts of it and when I was writing it too, I was cracking myself up, but I was just cracking myself up just because of the way that Kayla her outlook on things, but I wasn't trying to make it funny, but yeah,
Yeah.
but I think it does give a good balance because it is kind of dark humor, but then there's a lot of, like, tenderness and vulnerability and heart to the story too, especially with their relationship and with Kayla's relationship with her dad, and
Hmm.
just her wanting to be a better person. You kind of feel for her in that,
Hmm.
and then you also kind of wanna just shake her and, like, "What the hell are
Yes.
you doing?"
Uh-huh.
But yeah, so yeah, it kinda just evolved that way. None of it
Hmm.
was intentional, but yeah, I did feel like I needed to balance everything out so that it wasn't too dark or too
Yeah.
sad or angry or all of those kinds of things, so
Yeah. Well, I'm like constantly talking about how I like ragey and snarky tones and like revenge plots. So
I love
that's
revenge
definitely
plots.
what I loved.
Yes, I mean, I love that too, and I love unhinged, unlikable characters. I mean,
Right.
unlikable characters are my absolute favorite. I think that if you're reading a book about someone that does the right things, is nice and gushy and squishy and
Hmm.
like a chocolate chip cookie, like that's boring. I want to
Yeah.
read something about someone that's effed up and like has all these things happening to them and maybe they
Yeah.
do the right thing or maybe maybe there's no redemption, maybe they're just not a good person, but I think that's
Hmm.
interesting, so
Hmm.
yeah, but I know some
Yeah,
people
that
don't
was
like that.
I know. There was some line in American fiction that came out last year that was something about how like authors, like especially character driven authors, um, are like have the biggest empathy because they create a character that has even like deep flaws, but they still care about them essentially. And I
Mhm.
feel like it does. I remember when we saw that movie, I was like, that is such a good point because like kind of what I was saying even at the beginning, where it's like they are crashing weddings, they're stealing stuff from people, but because we know, especially for Kayla, like what
Mhm.
she's up against,
Yeah.
you understand why they're making the choices they're making, and it's fun
Right.
to kind of to like there is the part of fiction that is still fantasy when it's not literally like the genre fantasy. There's still the fun of like living through a crazy
Right.
road trip.
Yes, like,
Yeah.
not taking it too seriously or n understanding that you're just there for the ride, but
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, I hope that people can, like you were saying, connect and understand that what her motives are for the things that
Hmm.
she does. I mean, I know that eventually the motives are like, okay,
Right.
like
Yeah.
we need to pivot, but they're also honestly, I was telling someone this the other day or last week. That I purposely made them this age because I watch a lot of reality TV, and the shows that I watch, like Love Island, Summer House, Vanderpump Rules, they're all in their mid to late 20s. And I feel like that age, I mean, I
Yes.
don't want to shade anyone that old, and I don't know how old you are, but like,
I'm 32.
okay, well, you're still in
We're
that sweet
good.
spot too, but okay, but I feel like that's the time period where people, they
Yes.
don't always make the best mistakes, and then Kayla and Zorie have been through some things in their past that kind of stunted, I
Hmm.
think, that their cognitive or whatever decision making, but
Hmm.
they they're not the brightest young women, or else they wouldn't
Hmm.
be stealing from weddings. So
Right.
yeah, so they don't make the best decisions, and I just hope that people understand that, like, they're making dumb
Yeah.
decisions because they're kind of dumb, but I love
Right.
them. But
Oh yeah.
yeah.
You're not like, I love that quote that talks about like when you're like 20 years old, you're like a 2-year-old adult essentially. It's like you're so barely coming into yourself in most cases. Obviously there are
Mhm.
people who have to like grow up really fast and whatever, but if that's not what's happening to you, like you don't even like have a full grasp on who you are like outside of how you grew
Right.
up and like what
Yeah.
happened to you yet.
That's so
Yeah,
true.
I think it's way too easy to like for some people, for some reviewers, I think that's kind of what we're talking about, to read characters in that age range. And I've had it happen before too, where sometimes I'm like, just just get out of this situation. And it doesn't
Yes.
make me hate them, but it's like sometimes it is harder or it's a good reminder to be like, no, being in your 20s is actually like really tumultuous and
Yeah.
confusing and you don't know like what your you don't even know what your values are necessarily yet.
Right. You
Yeah.
probably think that you're making the best decision for yourself at the time, but then
Right.
when you even for me, when I look back, especially at some of the men that I dated, gross. Like, you realize that it was just it
Yes.
wasn't smart. So, but
Yeah.
you have time to grow up and mature and reflect. So,
Yes.
you know.
Yeah. Yep. You just don't know yet. That's why I'm trying to keep it vague, but I edit a lot of like podcasts and content for uh entrepreneurs, I guess is what I'll say. A lot of realtors, but it's so interesting. My husband and I were just talking about 20-year-olds whose like approach to the internet is giving like life advice. And you're like, I
Uh,
love you, and maybe you're gonna have good life advice in the future, but you're too young to give life advice right
Right.
now.
Yeah. No. What is that saying
Yeah.
that people always say? You still have like Similac or formula on your breath or something
Yes.
like, yeah,
Yes. You
move
just don't
along.
know.
Yeah.
So and then like the other theme that's kind of going on, or like the question, like one of the questions is how well do you know your friends,
Hmm.
is like a big thing as well. So without getting into spoilers, obviously, did you always know that there was going to be some stuff about Zori that would be difficult for their relationship?
Actually, no. Like I
Mhm.
said before, like the story when I started writing it was going a different way,
Yeah.
and then it just kind of evolved in something else. Like, they were actually gonna be um in step with each other. Like, they were both
Mm.
gonna be Zorries. but so
Yes.
it switched somewhere, and I just kind of shifted and focused on her being the kind of one that Kayla starts to side eye a little bit. So
Mhm.
yeah, and
Mhm.
I don't know. I think that in every friendship, like in my friendship with my best friend, I'm
Mhm.
more of a Kayla, just I'm more quiet and reserved. I've always been like that. And then my
Mhm.
best friend, I mean, she's not on Zori's level, but
Right.
she's always been more outgoing and you know,
Mhm.
someone that I wish that I could be more like as far as socially, because I'm just
Right.
very introverted and she's very extroverted. So, but I
Yeah.
think that when you have friends like that, you balance each other out a little bit.
Hmm.
So it kind of works. And then
Yes.
sometimes it doesn't. So,
So that's true. But most of the time, introverts need their little, what does
hmm
it say? Like, you need an extrovert to come adopt you and take you places.
yes. Oh,
It does work out pretty well if you can do that most of the time.
are you an
Uh,
introvert or you're probably an
oh, I'm
extrovert?
very introverted. Yeah,
No,
it's
you're
like
not.
obviously
Really?
oh yeah. So I love Bookstagram. Bookstagram like changed everything. Not it really did though. I was like, wait, is that hyperbole? Where like in some ways it's like so introverts recharge or it's about like where you get your
hmm
recharge versus like extroverts need to be with people. So it's like
Yeah.
I spend a lot of time reading, so it's like that part I really love, but this part has helped me like understand because I've been doing it for like 4 years now. I still get
hmm
nervous because you never know like if you're going to be able to talk easily with someone or not. But it has been like, oh, there's like that introverted part where like if you're talking about something you both really love, which is like
hmm
books and reading and stories, it's easy to be extroverted, for lack of
Yeah.
a better term.
That makes sense, and I would
Yeah.
never think that you're introverted at all. You
Yeah.
give extrovert vibes all over the
Thank
place.
you.
So, yeah, you're
It
doing
has been
great.
a whole thing for me. Like there has been more transformation in the last 4 years. So I'm not surprised because like sometimes I even think about that too. When we first got married, it was like, oh, my husband is very much an extrovert. I'm very much an introvert. And now he's like, you like go to more events than I do now. And I'm like, it's because I found the bookish people.
There you
So
go.
yeah, I will be extroverted for books is kind of what I'm saying, I think.
Yes.
Um so there's obviously like the fun road trip element too.
hmm
Because they're just kind of like traveling from wedding to wedding. Uh I'm assuming since you don't plot, did you necessarily know that basically that the road trip was going to help like structure the story, or did that just kind of happen as you were writing it?
well, because again, like it's kind of like gives those strong Thelma and Louise vibes. So their road trip was going to be like important, an important part of their journey and transformation. So
Mm-hmm.
as it evolves and as they keep running into situation after situation, then
Mm-hmm.
there's more pieces of Zori and Kayla that are peeled off and kind of
Yeah.
makes for a crazier dynamic. So
Yeah.
yeah, that was definitely in my thought process with the road trip.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't
Yeah.
know where they were going to I knew that they were going to end up at a certain place, but I didn't know that they were going to end up further than that. So
Mm-hmm.
anyway.
Yeah. That
Mhm.
makes sense. Um, was there one of them that you enjoyed writing? I mean, we're not like in their both of their heads, but was there one that you had more fun like writing their like dialogue, or was it just fun? I'm assuming it was also just fun writing them both together.
I honestly, and this is probably true for most writers, I like writing the the villain, so to speak,
Hmm.
more so.
Yeah.
Not that Zori's a villain, but
Right.
I liked writing her the best. So
Yeah.
she's just so fun. And again,
Yeah.
because I identify more with Kayla. I could live out
Yeah.
my extroverted self through Zori. And
Yes.
I pictured the whole time I was writing Kiki Palmer's face and voice as Zori.
Oh
I
my
think that,
gosh, that
did
was
you,
who came to mind
are
for
you
me for
serious?
her. It might
Wow.
have been because, or
You
no,
saw
no,
one
no,
of
no,
them
no. I don't
days.
know. I listened to her memoir one of her
Oh.
books, or like a month before,
hmm
and I was like, she's reminding me of Kiki Palmer.
I swear I wrote Zori as her the whole time. I
Yeah,
told my agent that the voice, everything,
yeah.
and I was just writing as Kiki Palmer. But then
Oh,
I
you know what
saw
it
that
was? It was
oh,
like one of those days that she did
yeah.
with SZA. Like I think that's why, because I was like thinking of that movie too. That's what it was. Yeah.
Yes. And my agent had sent a clip of that trailer. I think it was
Oh,
at the end of
nice.
last year to me and my editor. And because I think it came out in January, and I was like, oh
Yeah.
no, like that sounds like my, because the t-shirt part and everything. I'm like, how did
Yes.
that happen? Did they steal it? No, I'm just kidding. But anyway, but then I was like, well, crap. Now everybody's going to think that I wrote that book based off of that. But even
It's
though,
still very different, but like I
yeah,
think it was like the like road trip and like
right. And
kind
then
of
it's
toxic
Kiki.
besties vibes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, if I ever get lucky enough to have this made into something, and
Yeah.
she's not going to want to do it because she already did that. So, like,
Oh
man.
no.
So,
Maybe
anyway,
she will. We'll
I
just
hope
put out
so.
the good vibes for it.
Yeah.
Um that's so funny. I forgot that I even like I wouldn't have even remembered that if you hadn't brought it up. Um do you it sounds like you also read a lot as well. So I typically do ask at the end if there's anything you've read recently that you've loved.
I recently read Julie Chan is not dead or is dead. What's did I
Yes,
mess that
is
up? Is
dead.
dead. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just yeah, I read that. And again, I love an unhinged character and
Yes.
story. So I liked that book a
I
lot.
loved that book.
It was so
This
yeah.
and you get another snarky one for all of my snarky fans. Like
Yes.
voice can like carry me through a whole book. It's just kind of like the
Mhm.
truth of it.
It's true. I like somebody that's sarcastic and
Yeah.
cynical and
Mhm.
just makes that whole plot was wild, but I
Yes.
thoroughly enjoyed myself. So yeah. So that's what
Yeah.
I just been and then I just I don't know if you read Love Letters to a Serial Killer, but I read that last
Oh yeah, last
year.
year.
But her new book, Matchmaking for Psychopaths, came out, and I
Mhm.
just got that on Tuesday.
Oh
So
nice.
so I'm gonna finish. I'm gonna start S.A. Cosby's King of Ashes because everybody's reading that, of course, and then I'm
Oh my
gonna start
gosh.
the Matchmaking for Psychopaths. So those are the two that I'm really excited about.
My friend Gare really loved matchmaking. I'm seeing like all good reviews about matchmaking for psychopaths. I haven't read it yet, but that's wild that you said King of Ashes because when you were talking about how the South is
Hmm.
such a good place for thrillers, I was I think I listened to King of Ashes right before I read yours. And obviously all for anyone who doesn't know, all of S.A. Cosby's books pretty much are kind of like southern noirs. Some of them are more noir than
Hmm.
others, but King of Ashes is so good. I think
Yeah.
it is my favorite of his so far. I just finished All the Sinners Bleed like 3 days ago, and that one was so good too. But I think King of Ashes is my favorite. So
I'm
you're in
excited to
for some
start
fun with
it. Like
that one.
I mean, it has good reviews all over the place. And
Yes.
every time I hear him in an interview, he just
Yeah.
always sounds so sweet and humble. And
Yes.
he's like this big time author. When I went
Yeah.
to BoucherCon last year,
Hmm.
I, is that how you say it, or is it ButcherCon?
I think so. I've always
BoucherCon?
wondered, but
Yeah,
I think I
I
hear
feel like I
voucher.
never pronounce it correctly. Anyway, that was my
Yeah.
first time going because it was in Nashville and that's just like right
Yeah.
down the road. So I went and I passed him in the hallway, but I didn't recognize him because he kind of reminds me of he looks like my cousin, so
Oh, really?
my cousin Robert. But I was like, oh, and then I didn't know who he was really, and then I was like, "Oh my gosh, I passed him in the hallway." And he was talking to the guy
Yeah.
that wrote Mystic River, just
Oh,
two big
yeah.
time famous authors just walking around. So
Right.
anyway.
That's what a lot of people say about him too. Because I was interviewing someone named Rob Hart, who just had the Medusa Protocol come out, and he's friends with him, or like I think they're both in New York. I don't know if S.A. Cosby lives in New York. Anyway,
I feel
but
like
he
he
was
lives
saying
in
the same
Virginia,
thing.
maybe. I'm
Okay,
not
is
for
he still?
sure.
I thought he might still be there. Um, but Rob was saying he was like, it's so cool that he's still just like so humble and he's
Hmm.
just so easy to talk to. So like everyone feels that way.
I love writers. Well, I love anybody
Yeah.
that's like that. That you reach a point of success, but you're not
Mhm.
so stuck up your ass that you think and
Yes.
pretentious. Because there are some writers I've been to like conferences and stuff, and I like to go to the panels and listen because it gives me
Yeah.
energy and inspiration to hear
Hmm.
from other writers. And there are writers that are like, I want all of my books to give people a message. And I'm like, well, that
Yeah.
sounds boring. I don't want to read a book and try to, I just want to be entertained. So, it's
Yeah.
just, ugh, I don't know. But I hope
I
I'm never
know.
like that.
I know. Well, and what you were saying about the pretentious part, that's kind of what I think sometimes I enjoy so much more. Like I've been reading more genres this year than I used to, but like I bet 80% of it is still at least some mystery thriller element.
Hmm.
Um, but I feel like the both the readers and the writers don't seem to be pretentious, which is nice because there's like this whole other version of being like a bookish person that's about being like smart and knowing bigger words and all of
Yes.
that. And I'm like, that was what I was probably around more growing up. And it's like now I'm like, oh, like we can all just have fun. Like we don't have to turn this
Yes.
into like an intelligence thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Not that there aren't smart thrillers. There are. It's just like I feel like the vibe is nice in this
Yeah,
community.
I do too. I like those kind of stories that just don't take themselves too seriously and writers that
Mhm.
don't take them too seriously. They get the plot, It's just
Yeah.
about, enjoying yourself and entertaining and if you can teach something in your writing, that's great, but
Yeah.
maybe that's not necessarily the intention. It's just kind of to entertain.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah. Yep. I agree. Where can people follow you to stay up to date?
I am on Instagram and Threads. I don't really post that much on Threads. I kind of
Yeah,
just go on Threads to look at all the drama because it's always
I know.
juicy on there. But
I'm just like retweeting on there or whatever,
yes,
reposting all the time.
it's I guess that took Twitter's place or whatever, but it's
Yeah.
pretty interesting. But it's at Christina Dotson Writes.
Nice. That's easy to remember. I'll put that in the show notes, but otherwise, thanks for talking with me about it.
Thank you for having me, Kate. It was really
Yeah.
fun. I appreciate this so much.